Yeah, I mean, just right off the gate, it was funny. I was using Google Maps to figure out where to charge the car, and the first three charging stations that it showed me to go to were all Tesla superchargers. And last I checked, there are no magic docks here in Florida.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to Out of Spec Guide. I'm Max, and I'm joined by Dave Connor. Hello.
Hey Max, how's it going?
Going well. We are both in cars today, and Dave, you are in a rental car, as I understand it,
I
right?
I am. Yes, we Kathy and I decided to get a quick little weekend away down to Florida, and when I went to the rental car counter the other night, I was just going to get the cheapest car possible. Like just a gas car. I was hoping for a Nissan Versa like Kyle loves. Maybe a red one just to make him upset, and but all they had were EVs, and they said we're going to give you a Polestar too. So I was all excited about that because I drive Teslas all the time. Now I had rented a Polestar 2 once before, and I liked the car, except a couple little things which I won't nitpick about. But Kathy was very uncomfortable with it because she's got to return it tomorrow. She's staying an extra day, and he has to return the car to 70% state of charge, which means she has to go to EA because we have no
Oh
charging at
no.
the condo. So she's like, "Can we get a Tesla?" And it's a whole long story. We're making a video about the experience of renting the car. But what I was really curious about, Max, because I know that you are a Polestar 2 owner, and for a lot of reasons, a lot of questions, why would you buy this car over, let's say, a Model 3, which to me seems like a direct competitor, or even a Y, because because this car's a lift gate. um, and one of the things you said to me was the system, the navigation system and the Android system to you is really a great alternative to Tesla. Not knocking what Tesla does, because it's, in a lot of ways the gold standard. And so I've been hunting and pecking my way through this system a little bit, and I thought it would be good for maybe you, an experienced user of this vehicle, to tell the audience your impressions about the Android system, Google Maps, how they've integrated everything into this car, because to me it's pretty cool.
Yeah, well said, Dave. I think, if anything, what Polestar and Google have done together with this system shows me that there's hope for non-Tesla car software, because there haven't been too many other beacons of hope. But man, every time I'm in my Polestar, I love using it. And in this video, I think it'd be great if, yeah, you hunt and peck and we kind of talk through what this system is like. I wish I were in a Polestar right now. I'm actually in a Hyundai Ioniq 6 that we're testing.
Oh,
And
cool.
I love this car, but to tell you, Dave, it does remind me that software for most car brands is not the priority. However, Volvo and Polestar with the Google system, which a similar system, by the way, is being adopted by lots of other manufacturers, it makes me really happy because it shows me that Tesla's not the only car brand in order to get great software. I think Tesla still does a lot of things better, but I think it'll be super interesting to show people who haven't had the opportunity to rent or spend time in a Polestar what the system is like. And Dave, also, I think your thoughts as someone who is, I don't want to say spoiled, but used to how good things can be with Tesla. I kind of am interested to see how this serves as a benchmark for you, because in my
Yeah.
opinion, it is like the best non-Tesla car software. So I really want to get your thoughts and impressions as we explore it.
Yeah, I mean, just right off the gate, it was funny. I was using Google Maps to figure out where to charge the car, and the first three charging stations that it showed me to go to were all Tesla superchargers. And last I checked, there are no magic docks here in Florida. So I
Yeah.
was like, well, okay, that's pretty cool that you've got integrated search for destinations for CCS charging, but why are you showing me Tesla superchargers? Oh, okay, by the way, there's this little amber note that says incompatible. But if I'm renting this car for the first time, I'm not gonna, what does that even mean? Like, I hear Tesla has the best network. Oh, great. The car's telling me to go to Tesla. Let's go there. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
I think they could maybe, you and I could, we talked about this earlier. We chuckled a little bit of riff. That aside, the integration of trying to find the DC fast chargers, I thought was pretty well done here.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think it's well done. And to your point about the superchargers, it's funny, those of us, a lot of our audience is US based. In Europe, Tesla superchargers use CCS Type 2 because that's what Teslas
Ah,
have. So it's essentially
that's
like they're all Magic Docks, or they all work kind of the same port to begin with.
right.
So because they opened up, and they've been opened up, I feel like with the code base and with how they've optimized it, it's like for the European market and for the US as
Yeah,
an aftermath note, they're like, oh, by the way, it's not compatible
I
yet.
know. You know
But
what?
it's
I've got
coming. We know it.
I've got US myopia. You know what I mean? So, and this is a global brand, and that makes sense to me that, sure, why would they, again, to me, okay, GPS location, you should be able to software say, all right, if you're in the US and it's not a Magic Dock, then don't. I mean, those are little tiny things. But you know what, Max? It was interesting. I called you earlier, and how do you turn the radio on in this car? Like, I was like, where's the radio? Where, and then you just told me, well, like, here, let me flip my phone around. This may take me a second to do this, but let me go over
Absolutely.
here.
Yeah.
Let me go settings. Let me go camera. Let me go front camera. Let me go back camera. Okay. Can you see this right here?
I can.
All right. So one of the first things I really do like is you've got this steering wheel, obviously here,
Mm-hmm.
um, and behind the steering wheel, unlike in a Model 3 or a Model Y, which is what this car really directly competes with, on the Ys and the 3s, you just have a horizontally mounted 15-inch screen here. This one here, you've got a vertically mounted, it looks to be about a 15-inch screen as well, similar size, maybe a little smaller. But this screen over here, Max, is pretty sweet. I like this, especially in the mode that I'm in right now, where it shows the overview of the maps, and I
Mm-hmm.
I really like that integration. But so as an example, I get in the car, I'm on the screen, and I wasn't sure how to turn the radio on. It's not super intuitive. So what do I do?
Yeah. So the biggest thing here is in the Polestar and Volvo system specifically, they kind of took an iPad as their inspiration. Not just in the sense that it's a large screen, but there's a home button on the dash on the bottom. So see that touch sensitive strip with the line icon there?
This?
That takes you home, Dave. Yep. So you press that, and
Oh,
now you're in the
okay.
home screen. And right now you have four apps. There's just four corners, and they're occupied by whatever those apps are, but those aren't all the apps on the car. So in any one of these tiles, Dave, try swiping in one of those squares, like up or down. Yep.
Oh, okay.
When you swipe them, you can see within these like folders which apps you have. And if you want to see a better like summary view of these apps, you can press the grid icon in the top of the screen, and that'll show you more of a familiar home screen type with all the
Oh, okay.
apps.
Oh, okay. And there's radio right there.
Yep. It's a pretty modular approach. I gotta be honest, it maybe isn't the most elegant, but at least it's simple once you figure it out. And the cool thing, Dave, is you can tell from the way they've designed this, they've designed this to be an open system. So when you go back to that grid, there's more spaces to fill in apps with, and you can have a lot of apps installed on the Polestar through the Google Play Store. So unlike Tesla, unlike really almost any other car infotainment system, there's like a third party element here. So Dave, your favorite app in the world, Waze, you can install natively right on the Polestar.
Oh, very cool. That's great. Now, quick question. Does this
Mhm.
car do battery preconditioning?
Yes, that's another great thing. So Google Maps is great. I think everyone's familiar with Google Maps being good for navigation. And aside from the Tesla supercharging bug, it has good EV routing built in. Because it's integrated into the car in this Android automotive system baked into the car, Dave, when you navigate to a charging station, it's going to precondition the battery.
Okay, so here it's telling me I've got an Electrify America charging station. See the Tesla right there? It says plug's not compatible, right?
Yeah.
And then there's another Tesla, and then we get an
I
FPL
feel like
plug
it's an
power.
infrastructure thing because they know they have to get it ready, but they just like,
Ah,
okay, we'll
yeah,
just put
yeah.
this sign on it for
All
now.
right. We'll give them a hall pass on that. That's
Yeah.
fine. So here, this is interesting. They say super fast 4. That means that there are, what does that mean? That there are 4 that are 350s and one that is a 150? What is the super fast, very fast thing?
I think that's what it is, Dave. It's the 150 versus 3. If you go into it, it actually says. So if you look down a bit, yep, it says how many types of each dispenser there are. So
Oh,
four
yeah, yeah, yeah.
350s,
Okay.
three 150s. They're both CCS. There's also CHAdeMO, but helpfully it's grayed out because the Polestar has a CCS port.
But it's you can charge on that because it's a dual handle CCS and CHAdeMO, right?
I
So
think
you
it's
could.
doing this based off ports, not dispensers.
Oh, I see. Okay. All
That's why
right.
CCS is 3, because one of them is one CCS and one CHAdeMO.
I see. So if I do start here,
Mm-hmm.
then the navigation to that Electrify America, that will integrate with battery preconditioning in the car?
It will if the car's battery is especially cold or especially hot. It's actually going to condition the battery, knowing that you're going to that station next. And then, Dave, this is crucial. If you go down a little bit so viewers can see what it's showing in the ETA at the bottom, see how it says your estimated battery arrival when you get there.
Yes.
You probably take that for granted. That feels so simple, like table stakes, right? Like, of course, that's going to be in the navigation. So many cars, if they provide this at all, I find it's not very accurate. The Google Maps system, I don't know what it is about it. I don't know what kind of data it has between what the car has and the Google Maps data, but it is dead on, Dave. Like, in the brief time I spent with Tesla, I think the battery estimation's even better in this system than it is in Tesla. It's just
Hmm.
always, I don't know how it reads my mind or knows how I'm going to drive. Of course, it updates in real time based off how you're driving, but it's always really close to what it initially guesses.
That's very cool. Yeah. In fact, I've driven some cars recently where I couldn't even find what state of charge I was going to ride. I think it might have been maybe it was the F-150 Lightning, maybe not. But there was one that stuck out in my mind. It just didn't even tell me what state of charge I was going to get to at. So that's good integration. And now, question for you, Max, that the Google map, the map that that's showing over here, is that native to the screen, to the car, or is that Google Maps as well in front of the steering wheel?
So it's Google Maps that's on the car. So it is it's weird because everyone thinks of Google Maps as like a third-party phone app. Google
Yeah.
Maps is built into the car, so it is what the car uses. So
Oh,
it's
I
tied
see.
into exactly what the main screen's doing. It's just giving you a more convenient view. The cool thing, Dave, though, is Polestar had an update recently for those people who like to use Apple Maps in particular with CarPlay, because that's something you can do in this car you can't do on Tesla with your phone plugged in. See how it has that Apple CarPlay option. If your phone's plugged in, Dave, and you were to use Apple Maps, we can't demo this now because you're filming with your phone, but it would show, instead of the Google Maps on that driver display, it's going to show Apple Maps on the driver display, as well as the rest of CarPlay on your main screen. So it's like having dual screen CarPlay only with Apple Maps. Unfortunately, it doesn't support other apps on CarPlay right now, but I think that's so cool that they give you that flexibility if you want to use Apple Maps, particularly now with the new iOS software update where Apple Maps has its own EV routing. You could use Apple Maps on your phone if you, for whatever reason, you don't want to use the built-in Google system.
I see. I see. And then, Max, just a quick question. I see this is how you put the car in gear and park and all that. But
Yeah.
what's all this here, and is that integrated into, let's just say, the maps up above as well? What are these buttons down here for?
Yeah, so those are media controls. So that knob, this is a very Volvo thing, is a really nice volume media knob that just changes your music volume. You have
Oh,
a
I
play and
see.
pause button. So that's super nice for media controls, but everything you're going to do on a navigation basis, Dave, is all on that touchscreen. And I think it's, once you get used to this system, it's really simple. Google Maps, in my opinion, makes it so much easier to get change directions on the fly, add stops, and as you can, you're scrolling around, it's pretty responsive. I think Tesla's still a bit more responsive, and that's down to their cars having really good hardware, like not just the screens, but the processors and everything. But still, like, that's cool. You can do that, Dave. Like some cars, what you're doing right now, they would just choke up on immediately.
Yeah, no, this is responsive. It's very
Yeah, it's not
responsive.
bad. And you can use the Google Assistant if you want. So you can say, hey, G word, I want to do something. And it's a really good voice assistant built right into the car, which I'm a fan of.
Yeah.
If you don't want that map prominently on screen, so if you go back to the map and go on the steering wheel, you can actually press. So go back to the driver display,
Driver display.
the one
Okay.
behind the steering wheel.
Oh, yeah, over here. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
And on the steering wheel, press
Yeah.
the, you can show people what you're doing, but on the steering wheel, see the page button on the lower right under the voice
Oh
thing?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, press that and see it changes the layout. So all it shows is your next turn. Press it just once. Yep. All it
Oh,
shows is your next turn, and it makes the speed, the PRND, the battery percentage much larger.
oh yeah. Oh, I see that over here, 52%.
Yep.
Okay, and then this is your
Projected range and also your regen or your power at any moment, right? On
okay. So
Tesla, you see that as the orange or the
just
green
by
bar.
hitting this button right here, you can flip between the really nice map or
Yep.
the little bit more data. That's good. Yeah,
Yep.
because I mean, if you've got the map over here, then that's not bad to have it over, to have this screen up as opposed to having dual maps on there.
Exactly. The
Can
one thing
you?
I wish is you could customize the driver screen more, like have music on it and whatnot. You can't. It's just maps, or as you can see, nothing, like a more minimal, larger display.
Yeah,
And that's just a Volvo Polestar design decision. But hopefully, other cars that adopt Android Automotive give you more flexible options for that. For people coming from a Model 3 or a Model Y, though, like you were saying, Dave, like it's nice just to have a driver display at all. I think it's super cool.
yeah, no, it's definitely a value add. Can you put this screen in north up and this one over here in direction up?
So the driver display one's very uncustomizable. It's always going to be relative to where you're facing forward, but you can have that center one be north up if you want. So that's
Okay,
actually what I do sometimes is I have the center one be an overview and the driver one's always going to be like an immediate relative to my
right,
position one.
right. Yeah, I know. I've been a boater for many years, and I like to have both views relative, north up and then directional as well. And
Hmm.
so I do like the ability to separate, and that's not trivial. That's a huge plus for me to be able to have
Yeah.
two separate screens with two different vantage points. That's
Yes.
amazing. What other? So quick question about when you talk about Android system. Okay, what I know Android versus Apple in phones, but what can you tell me or teach me about Android being built into this car? When you say Google Maps, does that imply that the OS is Android on this car?
Exactly. It's Android. And this is confusing to people because, right, everyone's familiar with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. I think at this point, the systems where you plug in your phone and your phone screen is in some format mirrored onto the car. This system, Dave, is the car is actually running, the car is like a phone. It is running Android as its software. And I don't want to get too technical into this as out of spec guide, but for safety purposes, the car is running like a more basic OS for very basic things like your speed and your range, right? That have to update live. Those are always going to run no matter what, because Android is a more complex like phone OS that runs the apps and the media that lives sort of on top of it and it's layered over it. So to give you an example, Dave, I don't know if this has ever happened to you in a Tesla, but if you ever had like your center screen reset in a Tesla,
Yeah,
your Tesla doesn't just stop moving down the
right,
road, right? Because that
right.
wouldn't be safe. Similarly, in the Polestar, and unfortunately, this has happened to me like 2 times, which is more than I'd like. But when it does happen and the system crashes, because right, modern software is complicated, the car doesn't just stop moving. I still see my speed, but if I had the Google Map on the driver display and whatever apps on the center screen, those go blank because it
Interesting.
loses all
Yeah,
that. But
by
I'm
the
still
way,
able to drive and see my speed.
in order to reset the screen on a Lucid, I just sold my Lucid, but and a lot, I mean, it had some kind of weird software things, but for example, like, in a Tesla, you hold both buttons on the steering wheel, you can do a soft reset. Like you said, you can keep going, the car doesn't stop, and you don't see anything though at all.
Yeah.
But at least you can keep driving. With the Lucid, they won't even allow you to do a soft reset unless
Oh,
you're stopped and parked.
no.
So this will allow you to do that,
Yeah,
and it will also continue to show you your speed data and things like that away from
exactly.
the Android system.
Helpful tip, Dave. We can demo this right now if you reverse your phone
Yeah,
camera back. I'll keep talking, but it's us in the Polestar. In case anyone's curious and they're picking up a Polestar as a rental, the way you do this, once Dave flips his camera, is you can, unlike the Lucid, do it on the move while you're driving, which is nice. So what you're going to do in the Polestar is that center home screen, or the home button on the bottom, Dave. You just press and hold it, and you keep holding it and you keep holding it. At first, it's going to prompt you screen cleaning mode. Keep holding it. That's, by the way, if you were to release now, this is a great mode to clean your screen. It turns off touch sensitivity. But You keep holding it down.
All right, hold
I
on.
think it's like
I
15.
released it. Sorry about that. One.
It's okay. It's
I'm
like
gonna
15
keep holding
seconds.
it.
So
Yep.
patience. You keep holding it, and it is eventually going to shut down the system and reset it. And this works whether it's stalled or not. So it basically just will eventually reboot, and it'll say Polestar. You can see that just went dark.
Oh
But you
yeah.
still have your speed data. You still have your estimated range, things like that.
Climate control also went off, by the way.
Yes, that's important. So the climate controls are controlled by the Android system, which unfortunately means that if this does crash, you want to reset it quickly, especially if it's a hot day, because it will uh, turn off your AC control.
Right. Hey, by the way, I noticed this car is ready for a software update. You think I should do that for thrifty dollar Hertz, whoever I rented the car from? I'm
Yeah, do
confused.
them the favor. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, like,
Funny, fun. Yeah.
I should
Funny
take care.
note, I don't know how long it takes you to do a software update in your Tesla, Dave, but in the Polestar, they recommend you lock the car and leave it for up to 90 minutes to let it do a software update. I made
Really?
this mistake where, as a tech nerd with my girlfriend, when we were driving to California, we stopped at the Hoover Dam, and I was so excited for the software update. I figured, Dave, you know what, Gosha, let's put on the software update while we're exploring the Hoover Dam. It'll be ready by the time we get back to the car. It can't take that long, and we'll enjoy the new software and the rest of the trip. And I think you can see where this is going.
Yeah.
When it says 90 minutes, Dave, it really means it can be up to 90 minutes. Gosha and I spent about 30, maybe 40 minutes exploring the Hoover Dam. Come back to my car. I figure it's got to be done by now. Dave, it's not done. The car is still locked. I can't get into it. I'm very embarrassed at this point as a boyfriend, and we're sitting outside the car waiting for it to finish the update. So maybe this sounds obvious to some of you who would heed those warnings, but me as a technical person, I was so excited for the update that I kind of disregarded that, assuming it'd be quicker. But no, it actually does take 90 minutes. It will lock your car and disable it. So this
Yeah.
is the kind of thing I think most normal people would do overnight at home, not in the
Right.
middle of a road trip.
Yeah, I probably should have done that last night, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, listen, my luck, I go back up to the condo after filming this, and Kathy says, "Can you run to the grocery store?" And I'll be like, "Well, I can't. The car's doing a software update." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh man, are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, Max, listen, this is good. One thing that I think that is very nice is as I'm driving now my Model 3 and Kathy has her Model Y, when I get into either one of those cars, I'm home, right? I'm in an environment that I know. It's not like I'm in the Lucid or I'm in the F-150 Lightning or whatever. And as I start to drive more and more of these cars, and start testing them out, it's tough to keep track of, well, in this system you do that, and in that system you do that. Is what I'm hearing from you with this Google system and the Android system, will there be a consistent experience across brands, or is the implementation of Google, let's say Maps or Android Auto, are they customizable so much that you're still going to have that sort of challenge to learn one system versus the next? What's your thoughts on that?
I'm so glad you brought that up, Dave. So, kind of like Android phones, this is the good and bad parts of it, right? The good parts is for the auto manufacturers, it's a very flexible system they can give you. And as a consumer, Dave, you're always, when you have a Google based system, you're going to have Google Maps. You'll have the Google Assistant. You'll have the Play Store to install third party apps. That part of the experience will be consistent. When it comes to the interface, the way things look, the way you'll get around, that's all up to the automaker for better or worse. So Polestar and Volvo, as we've seen today, keep it pretty clean, I think, and pretty minimal, kind of very much down to the vision I think Google had for this system. But I've seen other vehicles, Honda, General Motors, their vehicles have adopted these systems, and they look very different. And interestingly, right, Dave, we saw CarPlay on this one. General Motors is doing Android, but they decided all the way, no CarPlay, no smartphone mirroring whatsoever. You have to use the car's built-in system. So this is one of those situations where get used to the functionality and what you can do, because that will broadly be similar across cars, but the exact way the interface works and how comfortable you'll be with it is still going to be brand specific for better or worse. And that's
Yeah.
where I think you'll really see the brand and the automaker specific taste come into play.
You know how in Tesla you can actually take your user ID and keep all the settings in the cloud,
Yes.
so that when I log into even a rental Tesla, I've got
Yep.
everything consistent the way that is. Does Android Auto allow across multiple brands of cars for a user to keep their settings in the cloud so they can log into whatever brand it is, or is it not there yet?
Not there yet, and I don't see it being there because, again, the implementations will be inconsistent. While Android will be baked into each manufacturer's climate controls, power seat, steering wheel controls, and whatnot, there's still going to be a manufacturer profile. Like on this Polestar, Dave, you have a Google account you're signed into as well as a Polestar account. And the Google account will transfer what you would expect, right? Your saved bookmarks in Google Maps, your contacts, your calendars. So all of that's going to be in the car, which is more and more helpful if you are in the Google ecosystem. If you're not, then well, you don't get that. But the actual car specific things, unfortunately, are car manufacturer specific. They still will want you to have an account. The nice thing is Google has been pretty flexible in this system where if you're not a Google user, Dave, if you don't have a Google account, you can just use a account just made for the car. It doesn't have to be your personal one. Or if you have data and privacy concerns, that's something you can do. But every car with this Google system is going to have probably two accounts. At the minimum, the Google account, and then probably an automaker account, which may or may not have cloud profiles among that manufacturer. But no, and for better or worse, you can't go between like a Polestar and a Cadillac Lyriq and have synchronized settings for the car itself, just for like the Google
Yeah,
stuff, because the Google stuff
yeah,
lives in the cloud. Everything else is down to the automaker.
right, right. So one comment and one question, then we can wrap this up. First comment is it's interesting to me that on this Android-based system, Polestar is allowing CarPlay to play nice in the sandbox. Because I
Yes.
look at CarPlay as an Apple technology, and I
Mm-hmm.
look at Android as the opposite of Apple. So can you run, for example, on my iPhone? By the way, I'm getting the new 15. I think it was delivered yesterday, and I'm not home, and the UPS guy won't leave it unless someone signs for it. But can I run Android on an Apple iPhone? Like, I don't think you
No,
can,
you
right?
can't.
So here,
No.
so you see where I'm going with this. Like, so here I
Mm-hmm.
am with this Android system in the car that's allowing me to run CarPlay, which was an Apple app, and I think that's pretty cool. Um,
And
that
honestly, it's very cool, and it speaks more to Polestar and Volvo, as we've discovered, than it does to Google specifically. Because I think Google and GM, right, are choosing to lock you into Android completely, whereas Polestar and Volvo have always had a very agnostic attitude towards us to the users, and that's why I really respect them and what they're doing with car software. Because it's like, look, you have this great built-in system if you want it. If for whatever reason you don't, whether you have an Android phone or an iPhone, plug that in, and you can just use that.
Yeah. All right. And my last question, I think, you know me, right? My last question is what I love about driving a Tesla is getting the Teslafy data. So
Yeah.
this third party app that, yes, I sign my life away from, they know exactly where I'm at. They know everything I'm doing and all of that. I don't know. I'm not one of those conspiracy theorist guys. I like the fact that I can log into Teslafy after I do a road trip and get all the data and report on it, as opposed to have to keep a notebook and say, what state of charge did I arrive at? What state of charge did I leave at? How long was I there? What was the peak charging curve? Is there a third party app such as Teslafy that would allow me to document all of the data on every one of my trips for this Google system?
That's a great question, Dave. To what I'm aware of, there's nothing that's quite as extensive as Teslafy with their API, and that's down to, right, Tesla's cars all run the same. They have the same API that Teslafy can hook into, and perhaps app developers have looked at the market for Volvo and Polestar and figured there's not enough of these for us to commit our time towards developing something like that. Now, someone comment if you're aware of something I'm not, but I don't know if there's anything like that. I will say Polestar makes a first-party app that you can get on the Polestar that called the Journey Log, where you can do like very specific trip and energy monitoring, but it's not quite as nerdy or in depth as something like Teslafy is. And this is all technically possible. Someone could do it, but this comes down to the issue with fragmentation. Like, while in some ways the Android system is very flexible, I don't know from like an API and standardization point of view, Dave, if someone could make one app for Android that would work between Polestar and GM vehicles and Honda vehicles and other vehicles and seamlessly do all that. My hunch is that it would take more work, and that's the reason we haven't seen it. But yeah, that's one of the cool things about Tesla is they're much more like Apple in this respect, where it's not just all their cars run similar software. All their cars run the same software, and they're
Yeah.
exporting the same kind of data. And this is just we don't see that consistency across brands. The only consistency we're seeing is the services and the maps and the music and the media people use, which is great. But the actual car functions, logging data, that is sadly all car specific still.
Right. All right. Very cool. Well, Max, I just learned a ton here. Thank you very much. It's great that, that you own one of these cars and are able to speak so intelligently about it. I would say that, it's been a little bit frustrating just like finding the radio. But then when you show it to me, I was like, oh man, what am I, stupid? And the answer probably yes. So, but anyway, thanks for having me on today. And yeah, I learned a ton. Thanks, Max. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hope this has been helpful for those of you who wanted to learn more about car software. And if you're a Tesla user, or if you're not a Tesla user and you're curious about, is there hope for everyone else? I think there is. But Dave, I hope you and I have kind of unpacked some of the finer points of this. And I think some of the growing pains, frankly, that we're going to see outside of the Tesla ecosystem. It's really cool that Google's stepping into car software. But as we've seen with Android phones, it's not going to be a unified connected experience that Tesla owners are used to. It has some benefits. Google Maps in particular and the Assistant are awesome, as is the Play Store, but it's not, it's not the walled garden of Tesla, which has so many of its own nicely integrated benefits. Thanks so much for joining me today, though, Dave.
Oh, absolutely. I'll be happy to be back on. We'll have a new topic for another day, I'm sure, soon. There's so much to talk about in this industry today.
It never slows down. Never seems to.
It never slows down.
Enjoy that Polestar, Dave. Enjoy Florida. Yep. Hopefully, Kathy, I'm fingers crossed for her on EA. That's like the biggest question mark still.
I can't wait for her rate your charge from the EA in Naples. That's going to be a fun one to watch.
Oh, boy.
All right, man.
All right.
I'll talk
See
to
you
you
in the
soon,
next one,
Max.
Dave.
Take care. Bye-bye.